hang on. So I'm not a particularly superstitious person, but in a lot of ways, I do believe that things can absorb their sort of surroundings. If you've got something that has been absolutely loved, it absorbs that. If you've got something that's just been treated as a machine, it will only ever be a machine until somebody can sort of love it, you know, and then it'll hopefully develop itself. This is one of the more fun type of pipes. Well, fun visually and sound wise, not fun to work on. I'm a mechanical organ builder, and which is a bit unusual. I cover mainly mechanically operated pipe organs. They're one of the louder stops or ranks of pipes in a fairground organ, and when you've got 20 odd of those blasting away at you, it's yeah, quite loud. In actual fact, when I was at school, I was going to go into engineering because I was always quite technically minded, but then it was one of those moments where I think it just clicked, and I thought, there's everything that I want to do in one of these and more, and I genuinely don't know of another line of work that covers so many different things. You know, it's furniture making, woodwork, mechanical, engineering, leather, paint, music, instrument making. The list goes on really. If you was to actually physically sit down and think about it, you probably wouldn't do it. you just oh dear. I tell most people that I'm a fairground organ builder because most people relate to English fairgrounds with carousels and all the different rides, but it's quite a wider field than that. My dad inherited a big Belgian dance organ that we used to travel around, so every weekend was spent actually going out on a Friday night, driving to the showground, setting the organ up, and then spending the weekend actually playing the organ, and then packing up on the Sunday and coming back home. Right from when I could walk, really, I was with Dad, running around, playing, seeing the organ all stripped down and in its component parts. And once I got a little bit older, then I could actually start to help passing screwdrivers and that sort of thing to him. And so yeah, it was a long-term training. I was so lucky that we visited so many different places over the years and met so many fantastic people. We met celebrities, we met royalty, and it was always lovely to hear the comments about the instrument, and that sort of thing. So yeah, I've been very, very lucky, really, and I continue to be lucky. The places that we go and that sort of thing tend to be quite varied. So it's Yeah, it really is a wonderful thing to be involved with. Right, are you ready?
Yeah.
What you're hearing is a live performance. It's coming from obviously a programmed punch card, but what you're hearing from the organ itself is a live acoustic performance, and that is so different from hearing it electronically or through speakers and this sort of thing. When you think that at any one time, at any one moment when an organ is playing, you might have, say, 5 or 6 notes that are playing at that one time, so chords and this sort of thing. Then when you have to think that in an organ like this, it's not just one pipe playing that one note, you may have 2 or 3 pipes playing that note. So when you add all of that up, you may have 20 or 30 actual pipes that are playing, and all of those pipes are sending out sound waves. So those sound waves are literally filling the air. Well, if that sound's coming out of a speaker, that's just one speaker cone, or maybe 2 or 3, that are pumping out an individual sound wave made up of lots and lots of little bits of sound. You know, this is lots of sound coming out all at once. From a listening point of view, it's actually a far richer sound than you would necessarily get from an amplified recorded sound system, so to speak. You're hearing effectively a live performance on a live instrument. Oh dear. Oh, I should have had my Weetabix this morning. These instruments are a restorable instrument. There is no reason why they shouldn't be around for another 200, 300, 400 years, 500,000 years, if they're kept in a good condition. And therefore, really, the skills to maintain them and restore them should be passed down and be able to be passed down. I hope that the interest carries on, but at the end of the day, it's up to people like myself to try and promote the instruments and to make them relevant in the modern world, and that's the key to it, I think. It's sad to say, almost a dying trade. They need to be more in the public eye. The instruments are capable of playing really anything. There's really no limitations. They can play up-to-date modern pop music just as well as they can play classical or evergreens or that sort of thing. You can have an instrument that was made in 1880 or 1890, and you can play a piece of music that's literally in the charts at the moment on it, and you've got this thing which most people would think is incapable of anything like that, and yet there it is playing a modern artist. And it's recognisable to the general public. I don't know where else you would find that, something that spans those generations and links you to that past. Process-wise with this one, the next stage is to make up the fillet piece, which has actually got to be inserted into here. So I've got to take the width of this, cut that down, round off the edges and make sure it fits really nicely, and then that can be glued in place. This organ was built probably about 2 years before the Titanic, and here it is. You know, I'm restoring it. It's you know, it's survived 2 years older than the Titanic. When I get an instrument in that is derelict, it's maybe not played for. I mean, some instruments that I've done haven't been played in living memory, and so there's an incredible sense of nostalgia and drive as a result of that, to be the first person to have heard that in that number of years. When you think that that was 1840s, you've got no computers at that time, and that sort of thing, and this is effectively a programmed musical device. Really, it's the iPod of the day. So yeah, quite a clever system. So yeah, I've got the task of putting it all back together. But yeah, poor old thing it is. In your mind, you're thinking to that end result and what it's going to sound like, and being that first person to hear it. But equally, with other instruments that come in that maybe have played, but you can put your own twist on them, or even if you're building a new instrument, you're putting your own ideas and heart and soul into it and that sort of thing. In an increasingly modern world, their place is becoming a little more limited, and also the interest in them is becoming a little more limited. The majority of people wouldn't even necessarily have seen a machine like this, so you don't necessarily have that initial interest and recognition of them. Maybe once somebody has seen one and heard it, maybe it sparks a little bit of interest. It's the sort of line of work that if you were, say, an engineer or a carpenter, or somebody who just had a fascination for mechanisms and this sort of thing, you could come into it from any one of those sort of directions, and then expand into the different areas that it covers. I do love them. I mean, I make it. I don't make them to any plans. You know, it's just I've seen that many of them. I just you know, make it out my own head sort of thing. But once I've finished it, I'll just sit there and I'll just look at it. You know, and it's like, oh yeah, you know. It's as if I haven't even done it. It's sort of it's weird, you know, but I just love it. Yeah, great fun. Even church organ building, it's the sort of thing that they're struggling to find multi-skilled people, or people who are willing to go through the level of training that's needed to acquire the different skills that are needed. The mechanical organ world is a separate thing, but almost on a different level, because you incorporate far more engineering than say in a church organ, because you've got potentially gears, crankshafts, you've got, it's a machine as well as an instrument, and to find people who have got the understanding, the knowledge and the willingness to learn all of that is very difficult. I've been in my trade now for over 20 years, and I'm still learning. You never stop learning. Yeah. Right. I think my hopes for the future are that to some degree these things carry on, we can generate the interest in them and show the general public that they are a relative thing. They can play any sort of music, modern music, anything you like, and that new people come in, whether it's from an amateur level or they decide that they want to go into organ building professionally, and they carry on learning the skills and keeping the things alive. My other half, she was really sort of disappointed because she said, "Oh, we've only got just over 3,000 followers on Instagram, you know." And I said, "Darling, I said there's not 3,000 people in the organ world, total, you know." And so I said, "That's 3,000 people that maybe had never seen one of these before." And they're on there and they're liking the videos and they're commenting on it. "Oh, this reminds me of the seaside," or maybe totally unrelated things, but it sparks off some sort of memory, you know. And if you've sort of captured the interest of even just a handful of those people, it's still more people that wouldn't have necessarily ever got involved with them. When you hear the things play, especially when you've been that involved, you've literally every single nut, bolt, screw, part, spring, pipe, everything you have had to pieces, and then you put that all back together. Or if you've built a new one, you know, you've made every single little piece of it, and then you put it together, and then it works and it looks nice and it sounds nice and all of that sort of thing. It's actually it's a deeply emotional thing, because you've put your heart and soul into it, and effectively your heart and soul is being played back at you, sort of thing. It shows what can be made with effectively relatively basic materials. Effectively, organs comprise of wood, metal, leather and paint, and a dab of glue. So it's a technology which is lost, but it's fascinating. It's a visual thing. You can see how things work, and it keeps all those old skills alive. There's not very many other trades that contain so many different elements. It's the wonderment of it all, on so many levels, and I think it's great when you see people and they sort of get it. They don't necessarily understand what's going on, but the overall fascination and wonder of it, it is just great to see on their faces, you know, and I love that, being out with an instrument, and you just see those little moments. They bring a lot of joy. They're jolly happy things, you know, this sort of thing, and you do see a lot of people and they just walk past and they do smile. They're certainly, from my point of view, they're a machine that I have to mend and this sort of thing, but the fun and enjoyment that they bring and that I get is priceless, really.
Biggie on